What it means, because what's the point of getting elected and then doing the wrong thing just so you can stay in office? I certainly don't want to do that. Right? I'm not going to do anything based on political popularity. I'm not even going to need a pollster once I get elected. I'm not going to need any of this stuff. It's just, I know what needs to be done, and I don't care if it's popular. In fact, Barack Obama pretends. He makes me sick when he's like, I don't want to do what's popular. I want to do what's right. All he's doing is what's popular, and he knows it. He's a pure demagogue. He wants to give people stuff for free. He wants to be Santa Claus. Right? That's popular. And he wants to pretend that he's standing up to the big, mean special interests. He wants to give people free health care. He wants to, and then some mean people are against it. And so he's, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to tell the truth. He doesn't want to say, why health care really is so expensive or why education really is so expensive. He doesn't want to get to the root cause of these problems. He just wants to say what scores points, with his support. Once you had a couple of jobs, it doesn't matter whether or not you went to college. I've been speaking at some of these Tiger 21 groups in New York where ultra rich, really, really high net worth, like $30, $50 million above. And I went and I spoke to a room of maybe 12 or 13 people last weekend, and 3 of the people in that room didn't go to college. They were self-made, multi-millionaires. They didn't go to college, And a lot of our most successful people didn't go to college. So if they can, so obviously, if they, what's the point of a lot of them going to college now? There are people with college degrees, reading cash registers, waiting tables. What the hell? And they got student loans to pay off. So they've wrecked the education system. The federal government has by getting involved in it. They've wrecked healthcare. They're doing all sorts of things. They've destroyed our manufacturing industry. It's been a disaster.
It's been an absolute honor, sir. Big fans, followers for years.
Nice to meet you, sir. Ken, maybe you guys.
Yeah, we are. We're in Rhode Island.
You're in Rhode Island.
Well, we go to school up there. We're coming back to Fairfield.
All right, but you're
born and raised.
So you can vote, right?
Absolutely.
It's great to see you.
Oh, absolutely. I have a whole army of friends who are going to be supporting.
Well, these guys, that's the main
instinct and common sense. To an average guy on the street, it's just unfathomable how, what you're just saying.
Well, that's what I'm
so
hoping
true,
now,
so unfathomable.
that common sense can win out over envy and give me something for nothing, tax my boss and give me his money. That there can be enough people now that realize that the government has sold them a bill of goods, right? That this idea of vote for me and I'll take something from somebody else and give it to you isn't working. So you got to have right. We've killed the goose that lays the golden eggs. We're regulating and taxing ourselves. We had a great country because government was small. Because entrepreneurs, had the power. They can grow. They can expand businesses. They can make money. It was capitalism that made us rich, and it's socialism that's bleeding us to death. So that needs to stop. But more and more people, hopefully, as I said, with the Tea Parties, I've never seen this. There's a real grassroots movement where people are fed up with it.
Yeah, and they're educating themselves.
And the internet, we haven't had a situation where we've had the internet. You want to know why so many young people understand these ideas? Is because they're getting it online. Because it's not just the teachers in these government schools that are filtering everything, and it's not just CBS News or ABC News. People can learn about economics and educate themselves in ways they never could before. And the messages can spread. The young people are online, and that's where I'm looking. I almost got 30,000 Facebook fans. I got 20,000, and they're young kids. These aren't my brokerage clients that are on Facebook and on YouTube. They're young people, and so we'll get a lot of young people. And normally the young used to go to the left, but now they're to the right. We can win the youth. That's a real battle.
I just turned my son last week.
Huh?
I just turned my son last week.
How old is he?
30.
Yeah, it takes a while. See, normally the way it works is when you're young and idealistic and you've never actually worked for a living or paid any taxes, you're left. Because you're thinking with your heart. But the minute you get into the real world and see how much all that government costs, then you go right. You become a conservative because now you understand all the damage that those programs do. The problem with a lot of people is they never grow up, so they stay Democrats. They never think. They never develop their mind, and that's why the Democrats think Republicans are hard because they don't know why we're opposed to all these programs. They think we're mean.
Yes,
they don't understand. See, we don't think the Democrats are pretty good. They're just dumb. They don't understand. Right. We don't think they're bad too.
Spending money for the defense of Japan, which has enough money to defend itself, or
why.
South Korea, which has enough money to
we're
defend
defending
itself.
anybody. I mean, technically, if we're going to defend anybody, we should build for it. So we should say, look, you want our troops here? Here's how much it's going to cost, and let's make a profit on it. If they don't want us there, then we pull out. Why are we there?
I think we still have troops in Germany still.
No, I mean we got troops in 160 countries.
Used to have a manufacturing.
You know why they're there? Because the brass likes it there. You know, they have they're in charge of their own little kingdoms over there. Because when you're the head guy at that military base, I mean everybody salutes you and just
it's costing the U.S. government a lot.
And you've got this grandiose little lifestyle over there. You've got all your aides and you're like running this little and you just keep growing it and you keep we got to get rid of that. And they say, well, this is necessary. You want to cut that. Well, you're anti-defense. No, that has nothing to do with defense. We don't need that. Just because it's underneath the Defense Department, we don't need to have that.
I agree with you.
So you don't think we need Germany as a defense firewall?
I guess so. I mean, it made sense.
Eastern Europe?
It made sense. But there's no communists in Eastern Europe. I mean, it made sense when the Soviet Union was still there, and you had all these Soviet troops, on the other side of the Berlin Wall. Yes, it made sense that we had some balance in the Cold War, but there's nothing there. We're fighting a non-existing enemy. All the Warsaw Pact nations, they're all joining NATO. I mean, we're all. How can that be? Now, what is it? Is the enemy China? I don't think China's the enemy, a military enemy. I mean, we have a few enemies in the Middle East, but does that mean we need to have all these troops all over Western Europe, all over Japan? Well, no, we don't need them. So we can defend this country and fight a war on terror far more effectively with less money.
In our money.
Yeah, and the thing is, the federal defense should be the biggest federal expenditure, and it's not. There's so many other things that are bigger. So I think that we need to grow the defense spending as a share of government spending, but we need to shrink the whole pie, so that more of our federal resources are going to defense, but that in total there's less resources there, so those resources can go back to the private sector.
But he agrees. But only because of the way it's laid.
You just frame it in the camera and then I'll step out, swing to the side, and I'll interview you and ask what he was consistent.
We don't consistent. Our Spain or Japan historically, that they don't support that.
But it's not necessary.
Especially now.
I feel sure I was talking to some guy.
Oh yeah, he was definitely If there were dynamics, we tell them who is you. Just tell our viewers who you are and what you stand for.
Just a citizen. Live in Connecticut. I'm a small business owner, but I'm fed up with what's been going on in Washington. I've been a long-time critic of Washington policy, of expanding government, of reckless monetary policy from the Federal Reserve. I've made a name for myself on national television, warning about an economic crisis and helping my brokerage clients prepare for that crisis. But as I said earlier, it's time for me to come out of the bleachers and get down into the field. I don't want to just be an observer and watch a train wreck in slow motion when I know what's happening and I know what needs to be done to stop it. And there isn't a single senator seated today that has a clue.
You're in a tight field with a lot of candidates. Rob Simmons was in today. What can you tell the people that is different from their message and what you would do for them once you get to Washington that's going to be unlike any other candidate would do for them once they're elected?
Well, I think, a lot of the candidates that are running now in the Republican Party, including the ones that you just mentioned, they're kind of late to the party as far as being critical of big government, being against the bailouts, being against the stimulus, because where were those guys a year ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, when I was a lone voice criticizing. So people know with me, they know what they get, they know that I have really deep-seated principles, and I'm interrupting my career in Washington to fight for those principles. A lot of other people are going to Washington to further their career. That's That's not why I'm going. I would just as soon not have to go. But the problem is the career politicians have destroyed the country, and they're not going to solve problems that they created. Their only problems are how to get reelected. Right? I'm not going to Washington to get reelected. I'm going there to change the way things are done. I'm going there to try to dismantle a lot of the government programs that have been put in place over the years, to abolish and repeal a lot of legislation, to shrink government. I mean, I mentioned in my presentation there that in the last 10 years, the federal government has doubled in size. We're spending twice as much money as we were 10 years ago. How can that possibly be? I mean, the government was big 10 years ago, and now it's huge. Meanwhile, most Americans, most people in Connecticut, actually earn less than they did 10 years ago. Certainly, if you work in the private sector, you earn less. The stock market is lower than it was 10 years ago. How can the government be twice the size? So it's got to be whittled back down in size. It's growing like a cancer. It is sucking the lifeblood out of the economy. That's why so many people are unemployed. That's why we had this big recession, because the government is so huge that it's destroying the entire economy. It's displacing the private sector, and we need to shrink it. So it's not about talking about reining in spending in the